So happy Sunday, Dr. Hazelton. It's exciting to be sitting with you and to our audience. This is the stories we must tell. And I have a dear friend and colleague and an amazing superintendent from New Jersey, nonetheless, and from my old stomping ground of New York before that. So, Marnie Hazelton, welcome to the show.
Thank you, thank you, thank you. Happy Sunday. Thank you for having me. It's an honor and a pleasure.
Thank you. So you and I just saw each other in Phoenix, Arizona, of all places. And we were at the Tech Power and Equity Conference, and you and your team did such a powerful presentation. And I just knew I needed to sit down and just talk a little more with you because you said some things that just caught my attention. So tell me how the conference went for you.
Oh, it was wonderful. Fabulous opportunity to spend 3 days with like-minded colleagues that just happened to be women and learning from people around the country what they're doing to empower all students, not just female students, but all students in AI and technology. We had currently sitting superintendents, past superintendents, people that led states like yourself, and it was just phenomenal. I hope that I will continue to maintain the contacts that I made. Later on in the week, this past week, there were a few ladies that attended the conference that were on some other webinars that I was on. So that circle was broad, but it was also very small, which I liked because we will see each other again. There are so many different educational conferences and convenings, and it's nice to meet people in person and get to hear from your colleagues face to face in real time, and then also ask those follow-up questions. So I thoroughly enjoyed myself. My team had an amazing time, and I thank you for the opportunity. Voice for Equity is necessary, and I am glad that I was able to be a part of that.
Thank you. Thank you. What was amazing though, you had a first of all, you had a wonderful team with you. They
Yes.
are sharp. And one of the things I really liked about sitting in on your session is that there was this interplay between the content
Mhm.
and kind of the context of the community in your school district. And so I'd love for you to tell me a little bit about your school district. Where is it located? Where is Englewood? And why does the location matter in terms of the story you were telling?
Well, thank you for those kind words. So, Englewood, New Jersey is in northern New Jersey. It's in Bergen County. And why the location is important, Bergen County is one of the wealthiest counties in New Jersey. It sits right across the Hudson River from Manhattan, from the Bronx, from Washington Heights. So, it's in the epicenter of New York City. We're approximately 6 miles from Manhattan, right over the George Washington Bridge. So if you are a Hamilton fan, Lin-Manuel Miranda fan, you know In the Heights. So Washington Heights, when you cross over the bridge, is to the left. If you continue on to the right, that's Harlem. A mile or two down the road is the Bronx. So that area, you have probably well over 2 or 3 dozen cultures and languages, and those in seek of the American dream, and those that believe that better schools are in the suburbs. We get a lot of New York City transplants, a lot from Washington Heights, from the Bronx, from Harlem, there in Inglewood.
So
Inglewood
Englewood is suburban. Would you call it suburban?
Inglewood's very interesting. Inglewood is very suburban with an urban edge.
Mm.
Inglewood this year will celebrate its 125th anniversary. And if you ever look at a map, the Hudson River, Manhattan, there's something called Inglewood Cliffs. If you're a Hamilton buff like I am, the duel between Alexander Hamilton and Aaron Burr took place near that area on the cliffs of New Jersey. And so we can look out onto uh, the skyline of Manhattan. So a lot of wealth is concentrated in Englewood. It's a commuter city. 125 years ago, the Wall Street barons and all that wealth, they lived in Englewood and Englewood Cliffs. And the history of Englewood is that those multimillionaires at the time, they had these enormous mansions. My high school, Dwight Morrow High School, is a former a mansion. Our school sits on the property and in a former mansion. And those millionaires went down south to hire servants, and they brought those servants, Black servants from the South, back to Englewood 125 years ago. So Englewood is divided up into 4 wards, literally divided by a train track in the middle of the town. Wards 1 and 2 are up on the hill, and wards 3 and 4 are down the hill on the other side of the railroad tracks. That is where those housekeepers and cooks and those Black folks from the South, they lived in wards 3 and 4. And interesting dynamic. The demographics are still the same 125 years later. However, there's been some movement and integration into the working class, the middle class, and the upper middle class up in wards 1 and 2.
So, Marnie, who's in seats in your schools? Is it all 4 wards? Is it the upper class? Is it a mixed community? Has the history changed yet again? Who's in school?
Um, so right now, when we talk about those kids that attend the Englewood Public School District, it's not about white flight, it's about socioeconomic flight. We are 60% free and reduced. We have approximately about 3,000 students across 5 schools. The city of Englewood, we have about 50,000 residents. We have a large Jewish population, a large Hispanic population. In our public schools, we're about 60 to 65% Hispanic. We also have a large Asian population, about 10 to 11% Asian due to our magnet program in the high school. Social economic status, our middle class, upper middle class, and our wealthy residents in Englewood do not send their kids to the public school. They send them either to parochial, the yeshivas, or charter schools, or other tech schools within Bergen County. So those are the challenges that we face within the public school district. It is really an economic flight. And when the board that hired me and brought me in as superintendent, one of my responsibilities in taking this position was to look at how do we bring those families back. And I'm proud that as of yesterday, well, let's say last week, I had a parent meet with me to go over a few things. And he said, because you are here, that is the reason why I decided to bring my son back into the school district. And I felt really proud and honored by that statement. We are putting together systems and looking at the curriculum and making it more inclusive. And people are taking notice of that. And we are trying to bring back those families that pay a lot of money in property taxes. As I mentioned, Bergen County, Englewood is really a high wealth city. And to have to add to your financial plate private school, it is a burden for a lot of our families.
So I know, Marty, that you're doing some incredible work in lots of areas. I want to focus in a little bit on 2 areas related to girls and technology.
Mhm.
you ran and have done tremendous work around programming for high school girls, experiencing more civic education like applied experiences. I know you took them to DC. I love that story that you've shared in some various settings to really empower girls with policy voice. But you're also doing a lot around AI and technology. And I'm wondering, where are you today? What are you envisioning around the work that you want to do in terms of ensuring equity of access for your young ladies to this whole AI and technology space as part of your programming in Englewood?
Thank you. So we are a part of VILS, which is the Verizon Innovative Schools program. Through VILS, we were able to receive 1,400 LTE-enabled Chromebooks, which helped us decrease that internet at home gap, access to internet, which was a problem during the pandemic where the district had to distribute hotspots. So we were challenged with um, decreasing that gap, that access gap for all students. However, what I noticed, our girls, our female students have been tracked out of technology. In the high school, we have five academies. One of those academies includes an information technology academy. When you look at the optics, it is a majority male, white, and Asian. So
Hmm.
we have a two-pronged problem. Not only incorporating or encouraging our female population, but also our children of color, our black and brown boys, in tracking them or pushing them into those programs. So I'm fighting a fire on multiple fronts. But going back to your initial question,
Hmm.
how do we inspire our girls? Through the VILS program, we are supposed to create these junior tech teams. And those junior tech teams are supposed to assist our instructional technologists and our technology department with troubleshooting. So we have been encouraging our young girls and our students from diverse backgrounds to become a part of that. We also used some of our ESSER funds to purchase drones. What we are trying to accomplish is that we want to incorporate the drones into our CTE programs so that students can graduate with a certificate related to operating drones and showing females and our young girls in our schools that this is a viable pathway. And we try to show by and lead by example. I think it's very powerful and important that they see someone that looks like me in this role as superintendent. And I'm here for all students. I think it's not only important for the young girls to see me, but the young boys to see me as well.
Absolutely.
Particularly, yes, particularly in these times where, DEI has become the dirty word, and everyone that is not a male must have gotten their position through DEI when I have a half a dozen degrees and 25 years of experience. So,
That message is absolutely important, right? The representation, right, at all levels in all spaces, and so it's a part of your leadership that I just greatly appreciate is that you're constantly looking at who has access to what. I asked you about your young ladies and technology, and immediately you talked about, well, we also have an issue with making sure our young men of color understand that they have full access to all of these fields of work as well. And you've brought that kind of thinking to Englewood. And you also brought that to just the space of the conference where you're sharing with your peers and really greatly appreciate that. I'd love to get a little more understanding about who you are Marnie, in terms of, I know you were in New York at one point and then you started serving in New Jersey. How did you end up? Why did you end up in New Jersey? And I think this is either your second or third superintendency. And so you are you know, maybe a hidden gem is what I would call you, right? You just quietly lead and forcefully lead. But tell the community of your peers, who's Marnie Hazelton?
Well, Marnie Hazelton is a mother. My son is a freshman in college out in California. I'm originally, an interesting story. I'm originally from Baltimore, Maryland. At the age of 10, my family, my mother, father, my brother, and I, we moved west to California. I spent my wonder years in California. And then after the second year of college, I had this itch to move to New York, and I moved in with my mother's college roommate out on Long Island. And I loved music. I moved to New York to sing and to do other things, very musically inclined. And to supplement that income, I was a lifeguard for like 20 years. And then I read an ad in a newspaper that they were looking for substitute teachers. All you needed was a bachelor's degree. And I said, okay, this can help generate some additional income. I'll do that during the day. I will lifeguard at night. And then every 4 to 5 weeks, I'll travel around the world doing my love, my passion, which was music. Started substitute teaching, and then people saw something I did not see in myself. You are really good at this. You should really pursue your teaching certification. I had the support of principals. And once I sat down to check off the list, well, what do I need? I became overwhelmed. You have to go back to school and you have to earn more. Well, I didn't have any credits in teaching. My undergrad degree was in political science. You have to take a variety of state tests, which you have to pay for. So I became completely overwhelmed. And then one Sunday, while I was lifeguarding on my break, reading the Sunday New York Times, the ad said 1 out of 4 New York City students cannot read. What are you going to do about it? And that was an ad for the first cohort of the New York City Teaching Fellows. The New York City Teaching Fellows, the ad said, we will pay for your master's degree. We will put you in a 6-week intensive boot camp. We will pay for all of your state certifications, and we'll give you a mentor, and we'll give you a job all at the same time.
So a call to action with support. So you couldn't say no at that point.
Absolutely not. And the caveat, you have to work in one of the 40 lowest performing schools in the city. And you can pick which borough. Pick a borough. And so I was living on Long Island. And so Brooklyn was the closest. And I started teaching fifth grade, PS 309, Bedford-Stuyvesant, Brooklyn. And they were on what was called a SIR list, schools under registration review. And we managed to move the school off the SIR list within 2 years. I only had a 2-year commitment and I stayed 5. One of the best experiences of my life. I taught there. By that time, my son was coming into this world, so I needed to be closer to home. And one of my former principals that I used to work in her district or her school as a substitute, she said, I have a position open, literally right around the corner from my home. And I began working for the Roosevelt Union Free School District as a second grade teacher, a fourth grade teacher, and a fifth grade teacher. And that was an amazing experience. And what I did was I incorporated my real world experiences into the classroom. At that time, there was a genocide raging in Darfur, and I got my students involved. And we started this whole campaign, or we got on board with the campaign, Save Darfur. And I used that to weave what was going on in Darfur into every aspect of the curriculum. And people started to take notice. I was just In my classroom, I would close my door. I would use the New York Times to teach. They told me the New York Times was too heady. I said, if we raise the floor, the kids will meet us there. The New York Times pictures, anyone can look at a picture and write a narrative about it. How difficult is that? And I remember, I tell the story. I remember my second grade class. My co-teacher said, "Why are we giving these kids the New York Times? We had a free subscription." And I remember when I was off one day and she did not give the paper out. And I returned the next day, and one of my students, he said to me, he said, "We didn't get the paper yesterday." I said, I don't know why she didn't give it out. He said, "I take it home and my aunt uses it to teach herself English." You don't know how far and wide your reach is.
That's right. But you
Yeah.
know what, Marnie, that story of what you did in the classroom and how you brought in all your other experiences and bringing in, the contemporary context is
Mhm.
exactly how you lead today, right? With your Girls Policy Network, you just ran with that. You took the young ladies from your district up on the Hill to meet their congressional representatives and member senators. It's just you bring the life of today, and you have such high expectations of your students.
Absolutely.
And I thank you for your leadership, and I thank you for being a model for others. At the conference, you just shone through. I mean, the audience was just loving how you made these connections. It's who you are right now, right? It's everything that you've experienced in life, you've brought into your leadership. So
Mhm.
thank you, Moni, for spending a few minutes with me. Thank you
You're
for
welcome.
sharing a little bit of your story, Dr. Marnie Hazelton of Englewood Public Schools. We thank you for your leadership and for loving on our students nationally, not just in New Jersey.
You are welcome, very welcome. And I
Thank
didn't
you
get
for the
to
Sunday
how I.
conversation.
Oh, you're welcome. It's my pleasure. Anytime, anytime.